peace as a non-negotiable right. We are building the infrastructure for impact. A collective space where the diaspora can find tools, community, and the unshakable permission to slow down, process, and thrive. Your healing is not a luxury, it is the foundation. Join the movement. Let's build a softer, stronger tomorrow together.
All right, we are here. We are here to discuss Black Men Mental Health, Black Men Mental Health Day. Mwata Kairi, and I'm here we're joined with some strong to discuss this process of understanding how to be and to become. I want to let you all know that this topic is not one that we take lightly, but we take with a degree of seriousness. We recognize that there are a plethora of Black men in America, in particular, but African men globally. We live in a being anti and anti-Black, that perpetually puts us against a population to feel inferior and to be able to diminish one's value and worth, to make one actually feel more they do physically as an enslaved person, but not as one who is intellectually engaged in athleticism or intellect. So we are here to have the discussion. So I want to here for the discussion. We want to recognize the fact that the brilliant minds are here. We have Dr. Carter, we have Dr. Fleeton, we have Dr. Daniels, we have Kurt Lamar Jones. We have a variety of individuals to talk about this thing called Black Men's Mental Health Day. I want to begin with you, Dr. David Daniels. I want to begin with you, and this can go into the question of why do you believe that Black Men's Mental Health Day is important?
Well, thank you, my brother, for the opportunity and for the chance to chat about this topic today. I believe that a day like this is important because we exist in an environment, particularly here in the United States, and I would suggest around the world, where many of the systems that we exist in weren't really created for us to flourish, to be healthy. They were created for our exploitation. And the more we recognize that, the better able we are to, first of all, create new systems. And second of all, to live, exist, and even thrive in the systems that do exist. As many of you know, we are the global majority. We are. And anytime folks refer to folks who look like us as minorities, that it's obvious to me that they're not the sharpest tools in the shed. But despite that, again, particularly in the United States, the vast majority of our institutions, our systems, our employers were created for and by 8% of the global population. And that's issue. So we have to just recognize the environment that we're in, be aware of that, and bring the courage and the strength and the resilience in many cases we were born with, bring that to us, to the fight, so we can survive and thrive in it.
So I like the idea of surviving and thriving in the context of an oppressed societies. Understand that, Dr. Daniels, you are the person that is an occupational health and safety professional, and you engage in that particular domain in space. I want to go to go to who's right here. Marcus Robinson, Dr. Robinson earlier. See Dr. Robinson, I had a question for him, but we'll go to you, Anthony Carter. Anthony Carter, the award-winning documentary filmmaker. When we talk about iconography imagery of Black men mental health, what has happened to us where we begin to see iconography and imagery that shows us about our inferiority, like Birth of a Nation, so forth. And what is the work that you're doing that's helping to transform our image so that we have a position of empowerment as opposed to inferiority? Anthony Carter.
You're muted, my brother.
I said, we're jumping right in. That's heavy. I'm going to see what I can
do. A long question.
Yeah, there are a ton of images of and around and about Black men that are, put out globally. They're put out all over the world. And, they're pretty limited. In my opinion, they're pretty limited as to what we can be, what we can think, what we can do, what we can have. And what I try to do as a filmmaker, and what I have a film that I created that's now, I guess it's 6 years old. It's a short, and it was all about me questioning, like, what a lot of the systems that you just mentioned. I was given a health diagnosis, and everybody told me, the white coats, the folks around me, everybody who I thought should have known better told me, oh, this is just the way that it is. This is just your lot in life. You're Black and you're male, and there's nothing you can do about this situation. So just kind of take these pills and go away. That was kind of the reality, right? And something about that just clicked for me. And I said, no, I don't think I want to do that. And I got really pissed off and angry. And I started looking for information that, and I do this a lot, I look for things that contradicted what the general public was telling me, what the world was saying, you should be this, or you should think this way. I started looking for ways that were complete contradictions. And the film came out of that because I wanted to document my journey. And I was meeting all these wonderful Black people who, like me, were going against the grain, who, like me, were saying, well, let's do it different. And it was interesting. Once I put the focus on finding people like that, not only did they keep popping up, but they knew other people like it. So these little groups of resistance all over the country. And these people, folks in Atlanta, people in Georgia, people in Florida, and they were all part of this film that I made. And they all recommended one another. They said, this is somebody you might want to talk to, call this person. So with the work that I'm doing, my goal is always just to let us know, we get to decide the images that we want to put out. We get to decide what's appropriate. We don't have to wait. You were talking about systems. Systems are designed to get the exact results that they get. Right. So many times you try to come in and, we're going to dismantle the system. No, you're not. You got to go build something else because the system wants it to work a certain way. Right. So if you want, and that's what I've done. I go out and build my own systems because I look around, I'm like, this is crazy as hell. Let me go do something else. So that's what I do with the filming, the writing, all the coaching, all of that.
Building a system, I think, is very powerful in how you talk about shifting the consciousness, shifting the scope of expectations. Kurt Lamar Jones, you are in acting. You talk about edutainment. Add to that conversation, right? What was the idea about edutainment, and how has your voice been used to transform of Black men to promote mental and psychological wellness?
Well, my quest in acting is primarily generated by God. God has put me in the position that has allowed me to get into the arts and entertainment, understanding that a lot of young people in particular, these upcoming generations, are really focused on social media and movies and television. So this platform has been used to generate the interest and to bring these young people into my purview so that I can encourage them and inspire them and enlighten them. The movie industry, that's part of the system. Unfortunately, there's a lot of racism and discrimination, and couch casting, and I'm sure you've heard all kinds of negative things, but then there's a positive things about the movie industry. A lot of African-American actors are becoming producers, directors, and as Anthony Carter was saying, we're kind of having to create our own because Hollywood is going to do Hollywood. Mm-hmm. I'm very, very pleased when I think about Tyler Perry in terms of what he's doing now. We hear negative things about Tyler as well, but I'm focusing on the positive things in terms of how he's creating opportunities for people of color in particular, right? And he's using his platform to really give individuals an opportunity people who look like me an opportunity to really thrive in this industry. So I see a lot of good in it. I'm glad to be a part of it, and I hope to be in a position where I can meet more actors, filmmakers, producers, and we start creating our own work, as what Tyler did. So I see a push for us to help each other to develop systems in place where we can inspire, encourage, and uplift, and help each other have a livelihood where we too can thrive in this society.
So the image of iconography is very important. You mentioned the work of Tyler Perry. We have to also acknowledge the work of Oscar Micheaux. We have to also recognize Van Peebles. We have to often also in the acting industry recognize Burt Williams. We have to recognize the people that actually did those things that were monumental in shaping consciousness, right? At a time, there was a desire to perpetuate an image of bestiality, right? That was the idea around the birth of a nation. The United States' very first blockbuster film was about what happens when the Negro, when the black man is allowed to be free, allowed to participate in the political system. And it made mockery of the black man. So that set things into motion about the bestial nature of who we are. So we had to recognize that there people have come before us that have sought to change the image or address the image. However, there's a real challenge there. Was that it changed the image of somebody that said before you, then what they have in front of you becomes the guidepost rather than the center and the core of who you really are and who you really to be. So I like what you said about the Carter about doing it our own way. DeQuavian Cloud. DeQuavian Cloud, I was thinking about something here about license, like clinical social issue of social justice and mental health and community engagement. This idea of who we are and what we can become, how your work in shaping consciousness to facilitate change within the lives of black men to have optimal black men.
Ooh, that was a long question, so you got to break it down for me. Let's give it to me in parts. All right, so repeat that for me.
You are a social worker. Social worker. You talk about social justice.
Yes.
How is it that you are helping to shape consciousness? You talk social justice means that a mental health professional, I'll say it this way, I'll prime the pump. If we are in the business of doing therapy with individuals who have been ostracized and marginalized and dehumanized, and we begin to set the stage for them to be able to see themselves as whole, society is predicated on us being broken and despised. That is an act of social justice. So we have to reckon here, right? The idea that if we are speaking to the power of this moment to say we need to look at black mental health among black men is an act of social justice. So my question to you is, DeQuavian Cloud, Dr. Cloud, how is your work? What are you doing to facilitate the change in life of black men and how they see themselves?
So my work predominantly entitles me or allows me to kind of break down the stigmatization of therapy for black men, looking at exactly why black men fear therapy. Why do we fear that the chance to open up to other people? We often hear the old wives' tale, as my grandmother would say, the old myth of man don't cry, whatever happens in this house stays in this house. So my goal is to break those down, to give black men the space to be themselves, whatever they may look like authentically within therapy. It's also to educate those who do not work with black men. So our European counterparts who are using outdated DSM-5 that is not structured for people of color, especially men color, and letting them know that we have to have a cultural approach versus a European approach when we're looking at diagnoses. Because most black men, and most people might know this, that usually black boys are diagnosed with ADD, ADHD, ODD by the time they're at age 10, and then by the time they hit 18 and they're at that legal age of diagnoses, we get bipolar, we get some type of schizophrenic, we get some type of personality disorder by the time you're 18, and it's a misdiagnosis. So my job is to kind of stop that misdiagnosis before we get to the age of 18. So also look at that we are assessing our black boys, our black teens, and our black men at that pivotal moment once symptoms are onset, So if we notice that a child is acting out, it doesn't always mean that it's ODD, which for y'all who may not know is opposition defiant disorder. It may not be ADD. It may not be ADHD. It may just be a trauma issue that we have yet to get to the root of the trauma. And it's starting to showcase itself into the lived environment of the individual that we're trying to work with. So when we kind of eradicate that stigmatization, also eradicate the misdiagnoses in that area, we're starting to open up a full new, I call it a wheelhouse of opportunity to kind of work with Black men. Because we have kind of curated that safe space while also taking away the stigmatization of you can't cry, you can't be weak, and also taking away the chance of being misdiagnosed. Because we're looking at it from a cultural, especially as a Black therapist, we're looking at it from a culture standpoint, not just the European standpoint. Do we got to use the DSM-5? Unfortunately, we do until they kind of reinvent it to look at, people of color. But we can also have a culture aspect to it as well to make sure that we're following the proper guidelines.
In fact, you said several things you said that were spot on, right? Oppositional defined. Sometimes bad thing to do when you're in a space that's coming. You may actually be seen as oppositional defined because you define a system, right? Sometimes when we get listed as ADHD in a space where there's complacency as the vanguard, maybe sometimes you need to be acting out against some stuff to get some changes in our lives. So we often have to deal with the issue of misdiagnosis. May actually be misunderstanding of our resistance to our oppression. So anyway, mental health and mental wholeness is really consistent with what it means to be a human. And so our oppressor has already set standards for what it means to be. And I love when you talk about the DSM. The DSM is predicated on this notion of what is normal for a certain population. We recognize that it changes everything. We started challenging that when we were in graduate school, and all of a sudden we became a problem. We said certain things like racism has to be a mental disorder because to have a freedom of justice all policy and then say except for them, it makes you got to make you go crazy. You got diametrically opposed views in one head at one time. That's schizophrenic. I don't care what you say it is. That's jacked up from the back up. So anyway, we got to be clear about that. That the system we live in, operate in, is actually one that if we operate in a method to be defiant to it, we may be seen as the problem, but sometimes our problematic behavior is a solution that we seek. That is to seek some change. Darren Wilkerson, I skipped something, and I got to come back to you because you also in film. Don't look like that, brother. I got you locked in. You looking like how I know you me. Yeah, I know you got you. So you talk about we exist to help mental and behavioral health providers do what they were born to do, heal lives, while we build the system, structure, and talents that hold them up. Talk to us about that. That's heavy, deep, and it's profound.
Yeah, man. Thank you so much. Hey, everybody. My name is Darren Wilkinson, and I'm the owner and CEO of the Wilkinson firm. And what he was referencing was our mission, right? Essentially, we put staff, clinicians, and partner with behavioral health organizations to make sure that their workforce is stronger, better, more refined, and ultimately make more money for them, right? So, Black men's mental health and mental health in general, but in this topic, Black men's mental health is powerful, right? Destigmatizing therapy is always going to be the conversation, but I kind of want to shift a little bit because we have clinicians in here and we have powerful men and figures in here. I think from my side of things, how I view the landscape is that only 8% of all providers in the mental behavioral health space are Black, period, right? And then you talk about Black men, that's less than 1%. So it's a small faction of people. And as a man, we always talk about destigmatizing. I don't know that it's a stigma around it as much as the access to care could really illustrate, right? The clinician that spoke before, he mentioned the DSM-5, and you mentioned outdated assessment criteria, right, and models. Well, when these people are trying to enter the workforce, this is all they have. This is the standard, right? So it's set up for us to measure ourselves by something that's not culturally accurate, right? Everything has to be culturally informed. We always talk about trauma informed. Well, I think we have to be culturally informed to understand what poverty-stricken system, how those types of things would impact somebody's mental health. That's 13 to 16, 14 to 18, what it means, the expectations and everything. And understanding how the clinical system supports that behavior of raising your hand and seeing a therapist or even access to a therapist, right? All the black men in the country, less than 1% of the entire workforce look like us, sound like us, talk like us. And even then, they're trained not to. That entire 1%, 100% of that 1% is trained not to, directly relate, right? So you enter a therapy session if you can afford it with your guard up, and it's not by happenstance, like you guys said, it's by design. The system isn't designed to support the traumas of people that look like us, right? Came from where we came from. I think I was looking at a statistic. It says 40% of Americans live in a federally designated mental health professional shortage area, right? That means the national federal government has designated and outlined the places where we know there's more mental and behavioral health crises, diagnoses than there are providers to help them. I mean, so the acknowledgement of the problem that we can't meet the need for, it has been on a grand scale. I think what's more important now is we talk about entry points for where culture could come into the conversation. So at least the people that we do see could be helped, right? 90% of black men under 30 never ever see a therapist, and people live and die not knowing how powerful this profession could be, or that the people that actually see a therapist walk away not feeling fully heard or seen. And a part of my work is just connecting with the businesses that support this work, the clinicians that are providing these therapeutic sessions and these clinical modalities, to make sure that we're helping them not feel the burnout, the compression, the compassion fatigue, and making sure companies understand what it means to, a clinician, especially a black clinician, when they're trying to help their community, but the system tells them who's important and who's not, who to prioritize, and who to leave alone. And it's really hard knowing you have the skills to make change, but the system itself is not designed for you to maximize your impact. And when we talk about men's mental health, we gotta, we can't always stick on the stigma side. We have to really talk about how do we train clinicians? How do we talk with businesses to make sure that they have that cultural, lens on the people that they're treating and why it's important, So working from the system side, you alluded to it when you started off. You said, hey, the system is not necessarily designed. I think it was Anthony Carter. He said sometimes you have to build a new system. Well, from the HR side, that's what we do. We help them understand how their systems are failing them and inject new life into it. And we build it alongside what they already have. So we're not, throwing the rock at it. But essentially, from a strategy standpoint, sometimes to help people see what's going on, you got to get inside, you got to diagnose, you got to talk, and you got to speak truth to power. So this is why this is incredibly important to me. It's something that, you really can't advertise enough. You want people to understand the power of therapy.
Brother, that was profound. Again, Dr. Fleet, we coming to you. So get ready, industrial organizational person. So we coming to you, and Brother Carter on our way there as well. We got to swing back your direction. So Dr. Fleet, we coming to you. When you said the idea of stigma, and I love it, about the availability of individuals that look like the people doing their therapy are so limited. That's also important. We can't stick on the idea of stigma, but there's something beyond stigma. Why would I go to somebody, go to a system that is designed to oppress me to think it's going to give me some help, right? That doesn't make any sense. So I think sometimes when we begin to make these critical decisions about where we're going to go, it's good sense, because there's nobody there that identifies with my experience, that understands what I've gone through, what I am going through. Also, the secondary piece, I think you talk about, Dr. Klaus, some of the issue of crying and how we see emotions in a given environment. One, is that during enslavement, African people could not have a moment to cry or to stop or to have pain. Secondarily, you do want to show that in front of the oppressor. Thirdly, you start moving through life, you can't show their vulnerability again. And so there's this particular suffering silence process, but it's not always a bad thing. The issue always know that there are ways to stop and to check out and check in with somebody and to talk things through. And so this is not the issue of me not trusting therapy. Sometimes my paranoia is healthy paranoia because the system hasn't done much for me to satisfy my needs in the first place. But when we start doing what we're talking about right here, that's why I started with, and what are we going to do? You talked about Anthony Carter's solution, start be your own system. We're reconceptualizing how you see the thing called mental health. Begin to look at imagery and iconography, how you put place in the universe. We're saying now, not about identifying the problem, paralysis of analysis, but we're talking about the issue of structures that allow us to be able to move into health, healing, and holism. Dr. Fleeton, industrial organizational work, you do. Your statement is powerful about how you see yourself in the profession. The idea of helping people to perform and have to achieve meaningful growth. Talk about the work that you do because you're in a different space, industrial organizational psychology, but you talk about the issue of health and personal growth. Talk to us.
So one of the biggest distinctions between coaching and therapy is therapy is primarily focused on diagnosing and treating mental health disorders. Mental coaching focuses more on helping the individual optimize performance, regulate their emotions, build confidence, strengthen habits, and clarify purpose and develop resilience. So I really did like what Dr. Cloud was saying earlier about what are we taught mainly when we're growing up. We're taught to don't cry. We're taught to handle things ourselves, and we're taught to more or less keep pushing no matter what the issue is. Perseverance is a very admirable, and we all have that as like Black men. But we at times create our own barriers by feeling like we have to be tough all the time. We feel like we have to suppress all our emotions. And I sometimes had to break that down for a lot of them as well, as far as the people that I work with. So real strength normally includes like emotional honesty and being able to know how to ask for support. So.
Or you just started talking about emotional honesty and how to ask for support. You just got in the weeds and you jumped out of it real fast. Don't jump out now. You're there. So the idea
emotional
here is
honesty
that
is like you just honestly just have to be real with yourself. As far as you have to be real with your supports and people, the accountability partners that you have around you. And typically I have a lot of African-American men that I get a chance to work with and helping them understand emotional vocabulary, helping them cope and develop better confidence. So instead of asking themselves like, what could I have done better? You have to more or less have emotional check-ins with yourself about asking yourself, how are you feeling? Like, what challenged you today? And what are you proud of? So I like to think about it more or less from awareness standpoint. So when I talk about emotional honesty,
I don't have time to feel. I got stuff to do. I ain't got time to be feeling nothing. What you want me to stop and feel? What is that about? Come on, Dr. Fleeton. You talk to me. You're sounding, but it ain't hitting. I wanted to hit. Here it goes. What do I do? I'm in this moment. Carter, we're coming to you, Dr. Carter. We're coming to you, military. Once the Marines, always the Marines, Army. I got you. We're coming, brother, but hold tight. Dr. Fleeton, what do we do?
So you
How do we
got
make it
daily
happen?
habits. You got more or less spend time with yourself as far as checking in with your emotions. You got to exercise daily. You have to prioritize quality sleep, attitude. You got to practice an attitude of gratitude a lot of times. You got to be able to reach out to support. You got to have mentors around you. You got to have those accountability partners. You got to stay connected to different crowds and different people around you that you know that are supportive of you.
There it is right there. Start from number one again. That's hot right there. Now we got some things we can walk away with, right? You said one. You said what? Go back to number one.
You got to spend time with yourself.
Time with yourself, right? That is, when you talk about I'm gonna go be by myself, right? Who you going to be with? I want to be by myself. If I'm going to be by myself, I don't have to tell anybody that. So in reality, if I'm saying I'm going to be by myself, I'm going to be with someone or something. And the truth of the matter is, I'm going to be with some aspect of myself that's beyond this space. We have to learn how to be able to tap into that reality. That something about us is beyond this moment called now. Be by myself. Go be by be. We spend a lot of time as men doing. I love it. However, women can get up and they can go to the bathroom together. And I'm not saying we need to go to the bathroom together. My point is that we'll do together all day. We'll play ball together. We'll fix a car together. The idea you said, first of all, about be with yourself. Secondly, you said the issue of exercise. Why is that important? Because when we talk about the issue of stress, we talk about the issue of dealing with the adrenaline, we talk about the issue of building up of cortisol within the bloodstream that's created by high levels of adrenaline. The cortisol causes plaque to build up in the arteries. That plaque then causes coronary heart disease, causes blockage. And so it is caused by trying to survive in a system that is oppressive. So you said first be, secondarily talk about issue of exercise. Next is what? Come
practicing quality sleep or prioritizing
quality sleep. The idea of rest. Why is that important? Because there's a difference between resting and sleeping. You got to be clear about that. We got to deal with the issue of what does rest look like, right? And rest comes from a position point of one, you have been able to be. Secondly, you have exhausted the adrenaline that's not causing you to have excessive thoughts and so forth. And now you can get some rest, and it is predicated on how many hours of sleep that you can get. But the rest is where you're able to unplug and to connect, because we know that people who do not get adequate amount of rest have some behavioral challenges. But also rest allows one to be able to tap into a higher power, and it also allows the body to reconnect. How do we know higher power? How can people have a dream about something that they've never been before, and then they go to that place? Astral travel takes place all the time, or have conversations, or you can solve problems in dreams. Wake up in the morning like, bam, I got the answer, and it came through rest and sleep. Because why? You remove the barriers, stop you from going there. So you absolute point on. So 3 is rest. Go next thing. What we got to do?
You got to stay
Number
connected
4,
to supportive people.
One of the things we recognize is that over a period of time,
the
the challenge is to disconnect people from their source, from their resources. The way that you can destroy an animal within, I used to watch as a child, watch the animal kingdom, and watch how the lion would separate the weakest ones from the herd. That's how you destroy someone. The proverb says that if you want to go fast, go along. If you want to go far, go with somebody else. The form of therapy we talk about is called Ubuntu psychotherapy. That's what we do. It's about being connected. Next one, go ahead. Stay connected.
You have practice daily gratitude.
Right? The idea of practicing
things that you are grateful for each and every day.
Practice daily gratitude is imperative, because we spend a lot of time in a zone of negativity. We spend a lot of times, we measure ourselves by failures. We begin to call ourselves failures. We have one mistake. People can get up in the morning, stump their toe on the side of a bed, and then talk about today's going to be a terrible day. Didn't take into account the fact that you in a climate controlled space, got out of a bed, running water, things that happen, clothes in your closet, you got shoes there, but measured by one thing, that is this idea of stubbing my toe. The issue of gratitude comes in when you learn how to be able to be thankful for the small things, the few things. And we live in a space, especially the trauma of living under oppression, trauma of enslavement, has us perpetually operating from a position where we nothing is good enough. So powerful piece. I just want to pause. You had one more though. Was another one? Attitude of gratitude. Is that it? There's one more.
Last one I had was you have to reach out to mentors, supporters.
Understand that people around you have been through something that you also going through. We learn certain things about no matter what we do, where we come from. There's always somebody that has a message to share about what is happening with us right now. And so to reach out to people that are older, younger, you learn a lot from a whole lot of folks. As an academic, I learned a lot in a classroom from youngers, olders, and people that are in my age group. Why? Because life lessons do not particularly stop with a particular age. As a matter of fact, in the ancient book of the Tao Tepe says that wisdom has no particular marker, age or a location. It can occur among the women at the grindstone as well as the elders in the village. It does not matter where it is. It will always happen. So anyway, I thank you for those pointers. We'll talk more about that. Also, Brother Wilkerson, we got to talk about the structures that you talk about, how we connect. We're going to move that together along too, because people need to have some things that they can lock into to do better, be better, and live better. Brother Carter, you have done this work. You have moved from the outside with the trees to the porch to the bedroom. I don't know where you're gonna go to next, but we better get to it quickly because we don't know where you're gonna end up next. I know it ain't but one space after that. So anyway, let's be clear about this. So you military. Talk to us about this, how you come to understand this idea of Black men mental health and why it's so important to have Black Men Mental Health Day. Talk to us about that, your perspective.
It's important because all of these spaces that these brilliant gentlemen, my brilliant brothers that are a part of, it's something that I'm a collective too. Diversity issues and anti-racism application. I went into Malone University and didn't feel accepted. So I created a space to basically say, hey, diversity issues and anti-racism application. So then this will potentially get to the DSM-5, the DSM-6, the DSM-7. So then it will be something that will not necessarily be sidelined by this European mindset, this European worldview. The history is a tool to learn from. Failure is a tool to learn from, not necessarily just keeping it there to just fester and let it tear you asunder. It is something, as you mentioned, utilizing you woke up today, you're able to have running water today, highlighting those affirmations and having that mental vision board to push us forward, bolster us forward. So within the military, it's a lot of these connotations, these ways of thought around it. Pain is the weakness leaving the body. No, that's not true. You're trying to create a fairy tale of something that is when pain is happening, it's an alert system. So when these reframes happen, it does more damage than good. It creates belief systems, it creates groupthink, it creates all of these spaces that are unhealthy and can create tumultuous result. A narrative that is not something that would be fruitful to a man of color. And the numbers of Black men in the Marines or in the military, Black as a society within our diaspora is very few and far in between. But I mean, it's growing, and a lot of that's been targeted ever since. And the statistic is they track the Ronald McDonald Adoption House for who is in inner cities and how they can recruit people that are adversely targeted. So then they would be, oh, we'll pay for your school. We'll get you here. We'll get you there. You get to travel. So there's a mix to that as well. There's a discussion for that as well. But to answer your question, how does mental health, Black Men's Mental Health Day opine to me? How does that appeal to me? I have 4 sons, 4 little emperors that are the multiverse that shapes me. But then also I'm a part of a community, the NAACP, the Urban League, different communities where as a mentor, the term that I use a lot is it's not a sign of weakness to ask for help. It is a strength. It builds on your self-character. It builds on your self-esteem. It builds on your self-efficacy. And it should not be something in a wellness mindset to be looked at as, oh, well, you're soft because you're going to see a therapist. Oh, you're this weak because you're deciding to talk to family about your issues. That is the underpinnings of strength and resilience. Those are the very foundation to having strength. So Black Men's Mental Health Day to me is getting on the bullhorn and mentioning that this is a strength to talk to the community within our diaspora, talking to mental health practitioners that look like us, and not necessarily going to opining and utilizing a European aspect that is not built, being that it is a system that is not built for us.
Hey man, that was powerful, man. I must
It
say,
was, right? So
very powerful.
go ahead. Comment. Wilkinson, go ahead.
Yeah, man. You know, like you said, it wasn't built for us, Dr. Carter. You know, and the sad part about it is you can't therapy your way out of a workforce problem.
Right.
Right? I mean, it's an infrastructure thing. It's
Right.
systemic, right?
Right.
And you know, I mean, you talk about, I mean, black men are hurting themselves and harming themselves at an alarming rate. You know, men in general, right? They said, I read a statistic, man. It said 45% of the people who committed suicide this last year actually had a mental or behavioral diagnosis that they didn't get treated in the past year for it, right? So it the system is even when it helps you, it still doesn't extend to a quality of life change, right? I mean, and I touched on it before, we need culturally competent care
Mm.
that reaches us, not just the Boys and Girls Club that's built by a different entity.
Right.
We
Right.
need to care for each other. We need to have rooms where we talk about what can the NAACP help with, what can the Black boys and you know of the Black League can help with, and start standing up infrastructure that supports itself for the people who was created to maintain. And then we can start solving our own issues from the bottom up. You know, but I just think that when you're not a part of every conversation, you only control certain aspects of the outcomes.
Mhm.
Then clinically, you start to see a disconnect, right? You talk about DSM 5, 6, 7. When they're going to write a DSM Black, a DSM, right, designed
Yes.
to target the specific, you know, problems that occur that they know about and document.
Right.
It's, you know, everybody can hold up a camera, hold up a lens, and write statistics about how deeply we're affected. But when will you start putting a system in place that actually helps, you know, destigmatize and kind of de-root some of these problems? And I think it starts with conversations like these. I
Right.
think we probably need to be more dedicated. Imagine if this room got together once a month and said, what can we do to help? Forget money, all else fails. If currency failed, what will we do to help impact a specific problem? And think tanks like this are popping up all over the country, right? And that's why this organization, you know, the Black Men's Health Organization, is an important movement. It starts the conversation, what sparks the brains, what gets leaders in the same room. And when there's stakeholders on different levels connecting for one shared common goal, we can move towards solutions. But I think a lot of the problem is we can't agree on which master to serve. Do we do it from the clinical side first? Do we do it from the organizational side first? Do we start a behavioral health program first? In what state do we do it in? Who needs the most help? Well, I mean, let's start somewhere. It doesn't matter where we start. Let's start somewhere. On the track, you notice is round, right? And doesn't matter your entry point. Yes, they're starting blocks, but even if you didn't start from there, if you started anywhere, you started running, eventually you'll cover the track. And I think that needs to be our mindset. You know, our problems all round. They're
Right.
self-serving, right? It's a cycle.
Right.
It's cyclical in nature. So if we start anywhere on the entry point of the cycle, eventually, if we're following it, we'll get to every point. But the problem is we don't can't agree on the beginning. We can't agree on where to enter. We can't agree on how fast to run. But ultimately, I'm sorry, I went on a little tangent. I'm really passionate about us. And when we get in these little hour conversations, you notice it sparks so much across so many different businesses that in communities, right? Anthony Carter, he'll go and make a film or spark interest and start sketching out some type of screenplay that may lead to the next film that we see on Netflix, right? Dr. Daniel, he goes back and he puts that into his thought leadership content, right? We talk about, Kurt Jones, his next acting job, how much does it hit when he has that culturally aligned therapeutic mind, and maybe his next role is somebody who needs help but doesn't know how to express it. How nuanced is his attitudes towards that, right? um, you talk about Dr. Cloud and his work when he goes to work on Monday and sits down with his patient for a billable hour, right? And it's a black man staring at him, and he's 2 years older, 2 years younger, and he sees himself. How much more? How can he save his life and impact him? Not in 10 sessions, in that 1 hour. How effective can he be? Dr. Fleeing, when he's doing his work, Anchor Mind, when he's putting his strategy together for his clients, how much more on target can he be? I mean, I love the fact that he talked about sleep cycles, rest, and uh, it all matters, man. It makes, what I'm trying to say is all of it matters. The entry point, the different levels that we operate on, the entire system. It needs all of us. It needs all of our input continuously. I just got really excited about that. Thank you so much.
That's Brother Wilkinson. Thank you so much. I know others have some things to say that we want to make sure that we get the voices in on this. Very, very clear about the leading causes of death for. Well, no, I'm going to go to this one. The third leading cause of death for Black males from the ages of 18 and 24 is suicide. You mentioned that early on in your exposition. It's important to understand that. Also, we must recognize that the leading cause of death, 1824, is homicide. And I want you to see the connection between the two. The connection is sometimes I am so frustrated with what's happening that I'm coming to you, approaching you. I'm strapped, know that you strapped, hoping that you kill me because I'm trying to figure out a way to get out of here. So sometimes the homicidal act is really suicide by homicide. So we have to recognize then that there is this idea of wanting to escape, but can we find a way to get people to want to find reasons to live, right? How do you keep going on? And Gladys Knight's song years ago says, I got to use the best of my imagination to keep on keeping on in a bad situation, right? What are the things that we do as professionals to be able to facilitate change? Brother Carter, you mentioned the three constructs I want to go back and hit: self-perception, self-esteem, and self-efficacy, right? Self-perception is how you see yourself. What has happened to allow you to see yourself as something other than being human, right? Acknowledge the nomenclature that we utilize to describe ourselves. We can be N's, we can be B's, and we can be hoes, right? So we can do an entire song with just the word N in it and a B, well, I can say B because B is a female dog, N and a bitch, and put a B to it and sell. And people will love it. And all we did was nigga, beat the big, right? Whatever we said, and it works. Because that perception has been one of accepting the oppressor's language and nomenclature. I will use it this way so that we do not run into any problems. The understanding that nigga is an Africanized version of the word nigger. Nigger is the Southern European aspect of the word a Negro. Negro comes from Spanish word negra. Negra comes from necro Portuguese, or the idea of death. Now, some even talk about NGR, Niger, being a divine substance out of ancient Kemet. Niger and nigger, two different things, just as Nigeria and Niger is the difference between nigger and Niger. So let's be clear that those are the same term, even though they have the same constructs in there. What's up, Brother Robinson? Even though it has the same aspects of lettering, the energy around them are different. So self perception, how do I see myself? Esteem, how do I feel about myself? Perception is how I see myself. And then you said, Brother Carter, my self-efficacy. To what degree do I believe I can impact change in the universe? The greatest agency, the greatest aspect of being man is to do something. We trying to watch boys, but you raising boys. I know the boys always wrestling, fighting, and tussling, doing something. What can I do? Right? Not how can I be. So the efficacy becomes there. But when you live in a society that keeps telling you that you're inferior, you're less than, now you have a real problem. So we got to deal with the issue. One, homicide is the leading cause of death of black males between 18 and 24. Number 3 is a suicide. What's happening? What are we going to do about it? The other thing is that people are dying more from what's eating than from what they're eating. Got to be clear about that. So we have to recognize the things that are eating us, the dynamics of racism, oppression, and human integration are real. But more importantly, we have a message of empowerment. So everything that everybody's talked about so far has been, how do we tap into the voice within to ascend to your greatest possibility? You said, Wilkerson, we need to do this on a regular basis. We are doing this on a regular basis. This is not a one-time hit. This is part of what we do at Black Men. Black Men. How about that? Black Mental Health Matters. Maybe that's what it's going to be called now. Black Men Mental Health. Maybe we rename something. But the point is that that's where we are. Brother Robinson, you have joined us. We will make sure that you have a chance to have your voice heard in this conversation, because we need to have your voice weighing in. And then we want to make sure that we entertain any particular questions. So we're going to extend this beyond an hour, at least about 15, 20 minutes. So if you can do that, any questions that people may have, put them in the chat. Brother Robinson, we talked about black men mental health and what is going on. And so we're asking the question, why is this topic so important? Black men mental health and why is Black Men Mental Health Day significant to our existence? Dr. Cloud, don't go nowhere and get another sandwich. I saw you leave. Dr. Cloud, by the way, left, got a sandwich, and came back. Y'all want you to know. All right, go ahead. I'm a snitch on you. I'm a stopwatch. I'm snitching.
All right. That's beautiful. That's beautiful. Well, look, this is some kind of world we're living in right now, and I'm coming to you from the United States of America. So there's a particular pressure, compression, and danger that's associated with just being present in the space. Though I enjoy the legal construct of being a citizen and whatnot, the position, even with terminal degrees and decades of contribution, this is meaningless in certain situations. Should others choose not to honor that, and it's totally on them to be able to do so. And I'm down here in Florida, where they were, they had the thing with trying to do the take away the protective status for Haitians. So I'm going, hey, these people are doing profiling. Everybody looks like Haitian down here when they look like me. So the harsh treatment happens to everybody, and so that's just the environmental intensity spike now that's going on now. But the broader background theme is always going on. So that drives my blood pressure, that drives the stress that's in my home, that drives my relationship with my other brothers in the street, that drives the way I raise my son and other men in the world. And it literally shapes my way of being. And so what makes Black men mental health so important? Because we need the opportunity to return to our core, to embrace our identity, to define and expand the narrative about who it is, what it is, how it is, and why it is we are in the world. And then in doing so, be able to retain my agency and my sovereignty and whatnot. And if I can get that done and get into relationship with brothers at a much more deeper level than the transactional relationships that are supported by modern society, well, then something good can happen. Well, that's why it's important to me.
Man, I don't know if y'all heard right there. That right there was deeper. That was deep, Dr. Fleet. I don't know, but that was some good stuff, right? So let's go back and say this. So Dr. Fleet has given us these 6-7 steps that we need to engage in. You went to the pillars of what it means to exist. You said, first of all, if I can get to the core of my being, right? That's the first thing. Can I understand and deal with the core? Inside of an apple is a thing called the core, and the core not only has a husk around a thing called a seed, but that seed has a capacity to grow a tree that can grow more apples. So the idea is at the core of everything, I can get to the thing that's going to spring out from that thing to extend beyond that thing. That's heavy. You said if I can get to the deal with our identity. Who am I for real? France Fanon said that's 3 critical questions. Who am I? Am I who I say I am? And am I all I ought to be? Who am I? Am I who I say I am? Am I all to be? What is my identity for real, right? And we learn a false identity and we adhere to that false identity. Some people, somebody asked a question earlier about how I pronounce your name, Sankara or whatever it is. It is Sankara. I was born with a name, given a name, Kevin Washington, by my parents. Modification process is what it is, right? So if a person gets married and that person changes their name, then the issue goes to ownership. Well, then why can I do the same thing, right? I came in one way, but I can determine and influence how I go out. And so there's a process that we've gone through to identify something beyond this space, identity, part of that stuff. You said expand. I love the idea of expand, right? Then not only the issue of identity, but then be able to have an expression to expand. And then you said to have 2 things, the idea of being able to have agency and sovereignty. The issue of agency and sovereignty are critical. The issue of the capacity, back to you, Carter, to do something, agency, the belief that I can make things happen, self-efficacy. And then lastly, the issue is that do I declare myself to be a sovereign being, or am I always under the auspice of somebody else? That's a profound space to be in when we talk then about mental health and psychological wellness. Is the issue of sovereign. The country declares itself to be a sovereign nation. Why? It says that we hold these things to be self-evident. They hold these things to be whatever true. What is your constitution? So, Brother Robinson, you came in and dropped some heavy jewels on us, and this is Brother Wilkinson is going to be part of the piece that we will advance, and the piece that we're going to advance, Dr. Fleeton, is as a black mental health matters, developing these particular strategies and techniques. Carter, don't laugh at me. Strategies and technique as to how we're going to be able to expand and facilitate black men's mental health beyond the day. So it doesn't just come and stop right now. Brother Carter, what's on your mind? What you got?
It's affirmation. It's
all right.
Affirmation. This is beautiful. This is a village that's coming to fruition that should have already been in existence. So the smile on my face is just radiant because this is just a beautiful collective of melanated brotherhood that is established. So that is the genesis of why I'm smiling.
Good. That's what's up. So ain't nothing wrong with it. Just want to know what's going on with it. All right. So the idea is we've been on for 58 minutes. We want to make sure that we have a chance to entertain any questions that anybody would have. For anybody here, you all have dropped some profound jewels, Brother Daniel. You kicked us off. Heavy and prophetic content came through. Again, talking about the issue of film, Carter, industry, acting, how do we move and maneuver? So we want to make sure that we get a chance to hear any questions. And so as we do that, I want to give you each of all the chance to make a closing statement about something aspect of black manhood, whether we talk about the issue of anxiety and hypervigilance, talk about the issue of wearing masks and mass depression, talk about the issue of talk about hyper masculinity, socioeconomic pressures, systemic biases in care. I want us to get to the point where we can, everyone can share something that people can leave with, and how they can connect with you to move beyond this space. And as you all prepare your statement, I want you to think about the issue of there are people who have conceptualized ways to do the work beyond the DSM. Dr. Azibo has what was called a Azibo nosology. He talked about the issue of diagnosing individuals. I have talked about this issue. We cannot possibly have post-traumatic anything when it's ongoing. That's why I call it PEST, persistent enslavement systemic trauma. It is an ongoing phenomenon.
Right.
And so it's persistent, it's ongoing. It is enslavement, the idea of enslavement ideology of European superiority and African Black inferiority, systemic. It's in everything that we do. If you don't think it's not think that we do, just go back and look at the World Cup from day one when it hit to the last day, and you will definitely see systemic racism and then the issue of trauma as a disruption to what it means to be human. And we have to recognize that everybody doesn't have the same definition of humanity, right? And so for some people, humanity is about oppressing somebody else. Other folks, humanity is about coming together and being one. And so we utilize the construct of Ubuntu because the Zulu concept says that some reduce it down to I am because we are, therefore I am is bigger than John and BT's construct. That's John and BT's work. But the idea of what it means to be human, UBU is being, into you is unifying life force. It says that we have a beingness that connects us through all things. And it was already clearly stated, Dr. Fleeton said we got to remain connected. So we are here. Closing statement, Dr. Fleeton has left us. Let's go with around anyone can jump in and say, here's what I want people to leave with about the civics of this day and what can I do to be a better man.
I'm going to say that I think we need to get back to our spirituality and not idolize ministers and bishops in the church, but to really get on our knees and talk to God directly, to ask him to help us sort through all of the propaganda and all of the crazy information that's coming out here. I think that we need to really return back to that substance right there.
Return back to the divine, seeking the divine. That's what Ubuntu says. The divine is within, seeking to connect with something greater than ourselves to make it make sense.
Sir. Yes, sir.
Dr. Daniels.
Yeah, I think it's really important as Anthony mentioned earlier, as we build these new systems, that we don't take the same hazardous construction material into our new systems. That's something I talk about in a book that I wrote about a year ago that talks about the fact that many of the systems that we've been in have been hazardous to our physical and our mental health for our entire lives. And then we get an opportunity to build a new system, to build a business or a nonprofit, or even some of the opportunities we have to serve to create legislation. We take the same hazardous building material and we embed it in the new thing. So when we're talking about building new also has to be about how do we create not systems that are going to harm people, but are going to help people. Not systems that are going to control people, but are going to free people. And that has to be at the basis. It's not about, to be quite honest, it has nothing to do with making money. It has to do with making an environment where people can do great things. If we create an environment where people can do great things, then yeah, we'll make plenty of money. It's said that this economy in the United States has lost trillions of dollars because we've held certain people back. We've held certain groups back. And I'll be more direct about it because of systemic racism and all kinds of other isms. We have cost all of us the money that we say we want to make. So let's build systems as we're building new ones that are healthy and that are first focused on making sure that human beings, whether they be black, white, pink, green, or spotted, whether the human being is centered in that system and the human being is centered in a healthy and developmental kind of way.
Powerful, right? You got to recognize that everybody we think human ain't human. I want to be clear about that because we get lost there, Brother Daniels, because we say this, but but what you said is spot on. Do not carry the old toxic stuff into the new system. When the manumission movement took place and people were manumitted to Africa, Liberia is case in point. Their flag is red, white, and blue. The capital of Liberia is Monrovia, named for James Monroe. They went there and oppressed the indigenous population that was there, utilizing the oppressors' ideology constructs and ways of being. We cannot then use the same toxic elements to try to talk about the healing process. We have to purge ourselves of it. I say we got to, first of all, kill the cracker within. We got to kill that which is within us that's already destroying. Because if we don't get rid of that thing, we will bring that thing with us like a virus, and everybody gets contaminated. And so I love what you said about build new systems, but build the systems that is liberated from our oppression. Heavy stuff. So that's worthy of us living up to, is moving forward, as Brother Carter said, which I hope he came back in. He came back in, he dips in and dip out on us. Probably have technical difficulties. So we want to go next to Dr. Cloud before he goes and get another sandwich. Dr. Cloud.
I had to eat. Y'all, it was early.
See, he don't know how I knew what he did. I was like, oh, I see that. I saw what happened. He came back wiping his mouth. No.
I was hungry.
Go ahead.
So basically, to kind of give y'all a tidbit, I would say that we just have to continue to empower African American men to reach out and utilize the mental health services within the area, and to also speak out when they are going through a mental health episode, and that it's not weak to feel weakness. It's more of a strength to acknowledge that weakness and to reach out to get that help for that as well. So it doesn't make you less than, it actually makes you more of a man because you're acknowledging your shortcoming. So continue to kind of persevere and push to get the help that you need.
Wow. So you talk about the issue of not being afraid to cry, not seen as a weakness to be able to ask for help.
Yes.
Or Dr. Carter, that's up to you now. The idea of asking for help is a sign of strength. If you don't know, say you don't know so you can get better, because every last one of us got a level of not knowing. I remember as a child, folks say, you don't know that. I said, you didn't know until somebody told you. So, tell me what's going on. So we need to understand that we got to come together to help one another to be better. Go ahead, Dr. Carter. What do you have to say?
What I will opine on is 2 points, 2 distinct points. I grew up on the movie Antoine Fisher. I love that movie because it speaks to the poetic nature of who will cry for the little boy. And there's so many parallels. Antoine's from Akron, Ohio, so am I. He joined the Department of Navy. I just joined the Department of the Navy, United States Marine Corps. He's a survivor of sexual violence in foster care. So am I. So it was a pivotal movie, as if I seen my life play in front of my eyes. And I'm a poet just like Antoine Quentin Fisher is as well. So it was a profound movie. It just felt like I'd seen my life in front of my eyes, and I cried, and I felt emboldened. I felt I built a fortress with being vulnerable and understanding that there are men just like me that have dealt with these oppressive adversities. And so it's something to where who will cry for the little boy. It's a very powerful poem. That is a very powerful movie that moves me to this day, 39 years later, getting ready to be 40, the 23rd of November. And the last piece that I'll opine on that I utilize his tutelage in a lot. James Baldwin, an actor, an activist within the LGBTQ community, but then also an activist that aligned both with Malcolm X and Dr. Martin Luther King. I can't believe what you say because I see what you do. I live by those words because we have to do things with intent. We can't just say them and feel like, all right, we're Doctor Strange. Everything comes to fruition when we say it. We have to do things intentionally. We have to do things with purpose. We have to do things insightfully as we move. But always remember too, we always have to rest. We cannot always have the be in motion. We have to rest and find a safe space to be able to do as such. Those are my words around how us as a society within our diaspora as Black men, that's what we should, that's the key focus.
Do and find moments to rest, to do again. Powerful. Brother Carter, you in and out. I don't know if you heard anything about what was happening. I was coming to you about our closing, anything you want to close out with. We go to Brother Wilkerson again, then Brother Carter, and then we close out with you, Dr. Robinson. Brother Wilkerson.
Yeah, thank you guys. I mean, real powerful stuff, man. We covered a lot tonight, right? If I can close, here's what I would actually leave with, right? I believe healing doesn't fail because Black men are weak. I'm with you guys on that. We've never been weak. We come from people that survived things that should kill them outright a long time ago, right? I think healing does kind of fail when the system behind the door is, understaffed, underfunded. It was never built with us in mind to begin with. I think the barbershop has been the only therapy room a lot of us has ever walked into, right? A fade, was our only relief sometimes, right? And honestly, a brother needs somebody and somewhere he can put the mask all the way down and not just trim it up for a while. And this, like I said earlier, alluded to, this conversation is really impactful for those reasons. I mean, so tonight, as you enjoy the rest of your weekend, two things to take away, just real quick: check on your people, really check on them, right? If you know somebody who's been good, a homie that's been good for 6 months straight, that's not peace, that's isolation, that's silence. Silence is where we're losing, man. If you're building anything and you're trying to find a way to close this gap, if you're building a practice, organization, a nonprofit, alliance group, a team, come find me, right? I'm not chasing applause. I'm looking for people trying to build in the same rooms and enter the same doors where people have been forgotten and marginalized. I do this on mission, not money, because I believe that the DSM can really name what's wrong with the men, but I don't know if it can really build and show up next week after week, for the people that look like us. And the clinical aspect, the HR, that's what I do. That's what I'm giving my life to. That's what I've been devoted to. And that's what my organization is all about. Come find me, add me on LinkedIn, pull me into your conversations. I give my time freely because I know my impact will live after I'm gone. That's what I would close on.
Yes.
Powerful. Brother Carter, I got more to add to all of that, but I'm going to go on. Keep going, Carter.
Okay, can you all hear me?
Yes.
Okay, yeah, I don't know what was going on this end, but we got it together. It was perseverance. So the first thing I want to say is, I think I want to point out three things. So the first thing I want to say is, I am super, super, super excited, thrilled, blessed, whatever you want to put, whatever word you want to put on it, that I am a part of this. And I'm looking at 8 or 9 different people who look like me, who have committed to this work. And the reason I'm saying that, and I'm probably going to have a good cry about it tonight before I go to sleep. When I started talking about Black men and mental health back in 1990, everybody told me I was crazy. I was in undergraduate school. I met a woman who came to do, she was a recruiter for a graduate program. And I wanted to do, I was thinking about being a therapist and starting a wellness program for Black men, because I was meeting all these Black men. And I was like, what is going on here? And when I started talking about it in 1990 and 1991, everybody told me I was crazy. Everybody said we don't do that. Everybody said that was for white folks, right? So that was almost 40 years ago. So let this be a lesson to everybody that sometimes things take as long as they take.
Right.
So here we are. I'm almost 40. It's almost 40 years later. When I started talking about that, I was in my early 20s. I'm now in my late 50s. I'll be 60 in 2 years. So I'm excited that what I said should happen 35 years ago, 40 years ago is now happening. In the meantime, 12, 13 years ago, I started writing about it and publishing about it. And I wrote a book about Black men's the first book I ever wrote was about Black men's mental health. That was in 2000. I started writing about it in 2010, published it in 2012. People still said, oh, great. Oh, that's crazy. And then all of a sudden, everybody started to talk this conversation. So I'm glad that it's finally happening on a grand scale. That's the first thing. The other thing is I want to point out, I think it was Mr. Wilkinson was talking about a track and things being on a circle and us doing things and wherever you get on the circle. And I want to point out something that I've learned over the last couple of years, which is, many times, many of us have a to-do list, things we got to get done, I got to do this. I have started a not to-do list, things I'm no longer going to do, and things we're going to stop doing. We're not going to do this anymore. This is no longer part of the equation. So I encourage everybody to get themselves a not to-do list, things that we no longer, foolishness we're no longer going to put up with. And finally, you mentioned the barbershop. About 6 months ago, 8 months ago, I started something called the Barbershop Revival Tour, where I was trying to meet Black men in the barbershop and show this film I created about health and my health journey, start a conversation. And I was reaching out to people all over the country. And I actually started with my barber. We had a session at his barbershop. I managed to show the film. I advertised for it, and I'm so glad when you said barbershop, I was like, whoa, I'm like this. Once again, I'm on the right track. I just wasn't speaking to the right people. But yeah, so if I would love to talk to anybody about, bringing the film to the barbershop on a day that is not open and having folks, just talk about it. So that's been something that has been, I have been pushing for since November of last year, trying to find barbershops and people who will open that door. So I'm super excited to be here. Like I said, I'll have a good cry tonight, thinking and I knew I was right in 1990, and here we are 36 years later. And I'm in the right room. So
in the right room, brother. I just wanted to say that the purifying and cleansing, renewal and ascension, you can't get those without the water, right? You can't get the plants to grow without the rain. So that particular process is purification, cleansing, and elevation. The barbershop work has been something that we've actually wedded to as well. We call the thing Manhood Mondays. The idea you said that we go on a day when nobody's there. It was for to have discussions with Black men and the boys that they're fathering, taking it around the country. We actually did some research on that we published a few years ago. We did it in Washington, D.C. We published it about the issue of My Street, M8I Street. You can look it up. The research is there on impact of training barbers to be early responders to mental health challenges. So giving them some mental health literacy skills so that they could actually be aware of what's happening and be able to be conversant about, maybe therapists, but also have them plug into resources where they can say, listen, here's what I'm noticing. Here's a resource for you. So that was the idea behind that. We can blow-up-weight that together. Brother Wilkinson was very powerful with the idea of the circle. And what we recognize with the circle is that everything that we do is in a circle. We see through a circle. We hear through a circle. We breathe through a circle. We talk through a circle. Life is circular. So everything that exists is in a circle. And so we will birth out of a circle, through a circle, to come into live on a circle and go back and forth in circles. So we're always in circular mode. That's the divine order of things. We can talk more about that. So may everything we do from this circle be birthed anew. Dr. Wilkes Robinson, go ahead. You came in late, but there's a difference between being on time and in time. And so you are always in time. Go ahead.
Well, I sure appreciate the invitation and the room that you folks have created here and to be a part of it. I'm going to use my final words to say, start with the phrase recursion. That's really the prescription of the moment. And what do I mean by that? I mean a return to the original ways of being a Black man, flat-footed on planet Earth. If you can, whatever journey it takes to get back there, that's the therapeutic journey you want to be on. Because once you're able to do that, what's going to happen is that you're going to find yourself standing apart from what I'm going to just call it modernity, from the way the world is now, so you can stand in the world, in the tradition as a Black man apart from that, because the world as it is far afield from the world as it should be, and it's in us. The code of that is in us, and the return to the core, a recursion back to the beginning, not like an incremental do something a little bit better thing, but no, I'm just gonna, like Mr. Sankara, I imagine you shifted your name at some point. You decided to rename, distinguish, to go back to a source core in order to raise up the thing. This is kind of riding with you on your, kill the cracker in you or whatever, having you said. That's just stepping out of the world as it is and stepping back into the world as the earth is, in the circular, to go with the seasons, to go with the daily cycles, to be in alignment with the sun, the ground, the water, and the air. You start getting that close to the reality of things, I mean, whatever's been ailing you will start to malleate, it'll start to change a little bit, malleate. So make it more malleable. I guess that's the word I was trying to get at. It'll change, it'll shift. And so in closing, I just want to say the answer is within us. We have a stamp all in every cell, every atom. It's got the energy and information of what is the appropriate role of a human being on this planet. We're too far from it. That's why we need Black mental health. We're inside of a system so the closer you get to it, the more you bond to it, the more successful you get into it. That's the depth of the psychosis.
Getting back to your essence is how you stop the psychosis. He says the further we get away from ourselves, the crazier we become. That's what I heard right there. We have to recognize that it is about identifying who we are, understanding that we are powerful beyond what we have been taught about who we are. This is Black Mental Health Matters. I am Dr. Mwata Sankara, and it has been a pleasure today to have a discussion with brilliant minds around Black mental health, Black Men's Mental Health Day. It is observed July 18th yearly. It was on a Saturday. I am honored that people took time to be here for the discussion, and I hope that people can leave here with some specific nuggets. We talk about certain things as the barbershop, as a place of healing. We talk about also concrete things, Black Men Travels, something else that we do, where we facilitating Black men moving around spaces, Dr. Daniels, to be able to connect with resources. When people recognize that you can be tied to the resource, it changes everything. So how are we tied to resources that can help generate wealth? Or we can perpetually be stuck into a space where we are trying to ask for somebody to give us what we need. But globally, folks are saying, come and we'll share with you. That's part of Black Men Travel. We see what's happening with the various industry of cocoa, of coffee, of vanilla, of everything else. And we're connecting so we can build wealth that way. The idea of understanding your advocacy, your self-perception, your self-esteem, Dr. Carter, powerful piece. Dr. Wilkerson, Ms. Wilkerson, talk clearly about what it is that we need to be able to conceptualize around and beyond the concept of the stigma. Dr. Cloud, not being afraid to cry. We must know that the DSM things we said are not created for us. They were not. And at the same time, we're turning our backs on things that are already been created for us because we assume that what the oppressor has is what it is that we need. But it's been clearly said, Mr. Jones, all the way to Dr. Robinson, is that what you need is already within you. The power is within you. Seek that, connect with that, and ascend to that, and stop trying to look to somebody else to get free. If you believe that the oppressor is going to free you, you're sadly mistaken. Dr. Woodson said it this way. He said, if the Negro in the ghetto looks to the hand that put him in the ghetto to get out of the ghetto, he'll never get out of the ghetto. Say it this way. If the streetwalker looks to the pimp to get her off the street, she'll never get off the street. Or say it this way. If the drug addict looks to the drug dealer, take him to rehab, he'll never get to rehab. We got to be clear about the process. The process is clear. I heard this one as well, is that, Brother Carter, you can't show up at the bus station trying to catch an airplane. You got to be clear about what it is that you're doing, right? And we got to be clear about where we're going and how we're going to get there. And too often we are using the wrong instrumentation to get to our own elevation. And this is why we come together in this space. Will there be opposition? Yes. Opposition only tells us that we are on our way to victory. So let's do the good work. You can connect with these individuals, Dr. Carter, Jones, Dr. Daniels, Dr. Cloud. You can connect with Darren Wilkinson, Dr. Robinson, Anthony Carter, LinkedIn. Connect with them anyway, but also stay connected to Black Mental Health Matters, because we are putting together the resource guides to facilitate the health, healing, and holism of Black men. Dr. Sankara, we're out. Thank you. All right.